Tennessee Titans fans, it is that time of week where we hop on Reddit and see what fans are saying about the state of the organization as we get ready for the Week 3 matchup against the Colts. This is all on the Two Tone Talk Reddit page. Link to it in the video description below. You can go join that community, leave your questions, memes, concerns, whatever, and they will get featured here on this segment next week. We got a lot of stuff to get to. You can tell the season has started because there is a lot of people with a lot of thoughts. Let's get right into the first one. Just Ladder 7774 says, is it okay is it okay to loathe Callahan? Get out of here. What? Is it okay to loathe Callahan? He doesn't deserve an NFL job. He hasn't accomplished anything other than being Bill's son, which is not even saying that much. We open it home with 2 awful penalties on offense, followed by an offsides and the snowball begins. He doesn't get upset with the penalties, doesn't tell anyone to get their heads out of their butt, just sticks his face in that awful play sheet. We have to move on. Kingsbury is the only guy fans have heard of that might bring excitement. Adelphia Coliseum used to be the loudest stadium in the NFL. I'm sure people won't believe this because it's laughable to think it's the same building. Boom, roasted. Brian Callahan has been roasted by Just Ladder 7774. Well, I mean, I don't think it's okay to loathe the guy. I do think here's the thing. I do think like the penalties bother him. And he has like went on and on about figuring out the problem with these penalties, but it never gets better. And that's almost more concerning that he has brought it up and just nobody's listening. And as far as the stadium being lacking excitement and all that, yeah, I mean, I talked about that on the bonus episode on Patreon Wednesday. It's despicable. J Money says it's week 2, guys. I get it. Nobody wants to be 0-2 2 weeks in, and it's going to look like I'm just talking about moral victories. I think for playing the 2 toughest defenses on our schedule to start the season, it could have been much worse. If we have more games like last week in the second half this week, then I'll agree that y'all that Callie needs to go. As a whole, I think he did a much better job coaching than he did last week. Cam extended plays and looked more confident. Special teams actually made plays, and the defense, for the most part, locked up in the red zone when they needed to. I just can't get on board with the narrative he needs to get fired yet, especially with easier teams coming in the next 3 weeks or so. This season is not last year. Well, I hope it's not last year. I don't think he should be fired right now. They're not going to fire him right now, 2 weeks in, but I don't think people are wrong for being concerned with what they're seeing. I do agree these are 2 of the toughest defenses on the schedule, especially with a rookie quarterback and a roster that's very young, starting at Denver and then against the Rams, who I think are easily a top 10 team in the league. That is tough. But you know, the week 1 game was more concerning because I felt like Brian Callahan actively contributed to the Titans losing the game. Week 2 was just a case, I think, of the Rams are just better than the Titans. Okay. But that Broncos game was more concerning because they should have won and they didn't. And the coach was a big reason why. This user, MKR4Y, said Snead disrespect. Not going to lie, I've been reading comments of Titans fans saying Snead was horrible. He had 1 bad play that resulted in a touchdown, but if you actually watch the game, he was shutting down Adams, especially in the red zone. This isn't Madden cornerback mode. Y'all need to grow up. I'll say this. I'll own it. On Monday's episode, I said that L'Jarius Sneed played bad. He did have some bad reps, but he also overall had a lot of good reps. And on film breakdowns, you can see there probably was more good than bad from L'Jarius Sneed in this game against the Rams. I just hope he's able to play on Sunday against Colts because he's been on the injury report all week. This user, Tribal Chief 1986, I acknowledge you, said, many coaches over the years, and I mean some elite ones, have realized this and had to grit their teeth and relinquish play call duties. It's very hard to manage the game from a head coach leader perspective and other decisions throughout a game when you constantly have to be worried about the next play call. He is totally disengaged from communication with players with his head in the play sheet. He isn't proven enough to be able to do both, not even close. I do not believe this format is best for us in the current situation. One problem amongst 1,000. I agree. I think there is something to that. I think that's a very valid argument to make that, I mean, so often, I don't know if I've ever seen Brian Callahan on the sideline in a game talking to players on the sideline, you know, over at the bench talking to players who are resting for a moment. I've never seen him doing that. He's always worried about the play call, and it's hard to coach guys up while also worrying about the play call. So I think that is a very valid argument from the tribal chief. Hot take. I think we played a pretty competitive game against a team that was very close to go into the Super Bowl last year. Coaching was decently better, and it was 20-16. We had the ball to march down the field and take back the lead. Callahan didn't fumble and give the ball back. That's Cam. Same with the overthrow to DK. Callahan will get better as the season progresses. That's fair. I mean, I think Callahan was better against the Rams than he was against the Broncos. Is that better still good enough? I don't know, but I will defend your take on this. You have to hold the players accountable too. It's easy to just blame every single thing on the coach, but ultimately Calvin Ridley and Chigakonkwo and guys like that, these are the guys that are dropping the passes that are hitting them right in the hands. Sometimes Cam holds on to the ball too long. He's a rookie. I mean, that's going to happen, but you can't just blame everything on the coach. You can blame a lot of things on the coach, but there are some things you've got to hold the players accountable for as well. So I think that's also a fair argument. This user said, the king. I think that Derrick Henry will be number one on the rushing TDs in 2 to 4 years from now. I have no reason not to believe that. He's a freak. He's one of a kind. He is one of one. Nobody else like him. Ain't never been nobody like him. He never runs out of gas. Titan Fan 09, first time posting here. Hello, everyone. This is my first time posting here, and I have a question. After Callahan is let go after this season or before the end, depending on the next 4 or 5 games, because there's no way he makes it to year 3 with his win-loss record, should they hire from within, Wilson, Bones, or even Tolbert, or try another outside hire, Kingsbury, Daboll, if they let him go in New York, or even possibly Mike Tomlin? Long shot, I know, but weirder things have happened. I guess weirder things have happened, but I would love Mike Tomlin. I'm a big fan of Mike Tomlin, but I don't think that's going to happen. In the event that Brian Callahan is hired, I don't see anyone on the coaching staff currently that I would want to elevate. I don't think that ever works out for the Titans. You can get a malarkey type guy who just is but like if you want that coach that's going to come in here and take care of business, I feel like outside hire is the way to go. I don't know any names that just totally jump off the page at me, but I mean, I don't even want to say it. I'm not saying it would be my choice. I just wonder if the Titans will entertain the idea of John Gruden because they've got a new stadium. They need something. They see that the games are not well attended. The people that are there are not excited. They need something to get the city excited. And so while I don't know if it would be the best choice, I just wonder if they're going to go with it because it would be something that gets the city energized. That's the post we just read. Let's go to the next one, which says Brian Callahan versus Ken Wisenhunt stats. There you can see those stats right there between Ken Wisenhunt, who is viewed as the worst coach in Titans history. Way too similar to Brian Callahan right now. These are dark times that I never wanted to get back to. And we're here. We're here again. Life is coming full circle. Juicebox008, lack of starters in preseason to blame for sloppy start. Clickbait title, things are never so simple to where all blame can be on a single target. I do think lack of preseason for the starters is partially to blame for the undisciplined start. Pre-snap penalties, play calls coming in late, the horrible week 1 wide receiver screen where nobody was looking to catch the ball. I haven't seen anybody mention lack of preseason play as a factor in the sloppy start and wanted to get your thoughts. Maybe, but I think when a lot of these problems were problems last year, I mean, the penalties and the pre-snap penalties, those were problems all throughout last year. So while I would like to believe, I would rather believe that it's just sloppiness from not playing in the preseason, what worries me is that these were issues in the regular season last year. So I don't know. But I do think in certain cases, like Kevin Zeitler, who's usually a pretty disciplined player, and he's having false starts and stuff like that. He didn't play in the preseason, so maybe in certain instances that could be true. Background answer 112 says Cam hype. I don't normally do this. I don't normally do this a lot, but I saw several times so far that Cam reminded me of Mahomes. The shuffle pass to his tight end and that crazy touchdown pass across his body. I don't think you should feel bad about that, because those plays you can acknowledge, because people think it's blasphemous and they think you're saying he's the next Mahomes. But I don't think it's out of bounds to say, hey, those particular moments were Mahomes-esque. The touchdown pass, that was something that only Mahomes or maybe Josh Allen can get away with. The falling down and throwing it out to the tight end, that's something that is very Mahomes-like. So I don't think you should feel bad for noticing that, because it's true. Tribal Chief 1986 is back. Acknowledge me. And he said, or he or she said, sorry, my laptop made a noise. The referees, on a positive Tuesday, I'd like to point out that the referees could have cost us both games. They've been horribly one-sided. Yes, when we hold, we hold. Those usually are adequate. But against Denver, those PI calls against us and the same behavior they would do weren't flags. That alone could be the difference in a one-score game. I mean, the study us like a science class, the announcers also, particularly the Denver ones. I've seen Simmons getting held at least 20 times in 2 games, with the majority being uncalled, and I find it hard to believe neither team committed any other infractions. I know this is a whiny move to say about the refs because we are an undisciplined team, but we have been hosed the first 2 games by them. I think the officiating's been bad. It's always bad. It's rarely ever good. I think that there's something to be said for the fact that the Titans, because they're a small market team, their games tend to get worse officiating crews, and so the officiating is especially bad. And yeah, I thought the Broncos game especially, it was hideous. I still think Gunnar Helm caught that pass on the sideline that they reviewed and said he didn't. Yeah, there were a lot of terrible calls in that game. This might be a hot take, but I believe that if we can beat the Colts this week, then we should be able to beat the Texans next week, which, funny enough, would either put us at the top of the division or in second if the Jags can win the next 2 weeks. If we are at 2-2 and the Jags 2-2, we would have the tiebreaker. Jags play the Texans and the 49ers. Colts play the Rams in week 4. Okay. I love the positivity, but I'm not willing to just say the Titans should beat the Texans in week 4, because even if the Titans were to beat the Colts on Sunday, which I hope they do, what do the Texans have that the Colts don't have? An elite defensive front, and that's what dooms the Titans every time. I think that's what gives the Titans a chance against the Colts on Sunday, is that the Colts defensive front is not elite. The Texans defensive front is, though. So I don't know if I'm willing to say the Titans should beat the Texans in week 4. But your scenario is true. If the Titans can win those 2 games, they very well could be in first in the division, or at least tied for it. My thoughts on week 2. I actually had a funny joke about Callahan and his BS coaching, all prepared and ready to go, but honestly, I think that he did a better job in week 2 than in week 1. He was merely bad and not apocalyptic in how bad his coaching was. So I'm actually going to give him some credit for improving. Also, I'm actually not upset at the loss. At this point, I would not mind going 3-14 again and getting a super high draft pick. We can trade out at the top of the draft and get nice draft compensation and rebuild this team for 2027. Cam is phenomenal, but this team is just not good. I mean, that's a decent long-term approach. I do think, like you, Brian Callahan was better in week 2, but it was still not good. It was, he went from being absolutely a liability in week 1 to just being a guy in week 2 who was just kind of there. But I don't know, man. I just, it's hard for me to buy into the whole, like, oh, let's be bad again so that we can get a high draft pick and all that. If it comes to that, fine. But I want to see my team win. I think it's bad for these young players to set a tone that just lose. I mean, that's all Peter Skoronski's done since he got to Nashville, is just lose. These guys need to figure out what it's like to win some. Tribal Chief's back. I acknowledge you. Calling out Calvin Ridley. You need to show up Sunday like a $100 million man. You need to go over 100 yards receiving and have at least 1 touchdown. Sorry for putting the expectation so high, but it's time to put up or shut up. Tighten up. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry for that. Don't apologize for expecting good results from a $100 million wide receiver. I mean, that's not unreasonable at all. It's what I said against the Rams. He had that drop and everybody was trying to defend it. I'm like, no, he's getting paid $100 million to catch that pass. I don't want to hear it. 2 more. This user said, questions about the coaching staff. Here's the thing. If Brian Callahan doesn't turn things around this weekend or before that week 7, I know this might not happen. I'm not trying to be negative, but if Callahan doesn't turn, it's a copy and paste there. Before that week 7, during the season, our Black Monday after season ends, Brian Callahan needs to go. I know it might not happen. I know it does sound crazy. Not trying to be negative. My opinion is it does happen, my option for the next head coach is Joe Brady, Cliff Kingsbury, Mike McCarthy, Greg Roman. If they bring in Mike McCarthy, I'm going to drive to Nashville and go to Amy Adams Strunk's office myself and point my finger in her face and say, you ruined Christmas if Mike McCarthy is the next head coach of the Titans. But it is not crazy to think Brian Callahan will be fired, because I think it's more likely than not at this point. Finally, this user, so this is the song that plays during the countdown to my podcast, Kingdom of Me. That's me singing that song. That's my song that I wrote and sang. It's available on all streaming platforms. This user, FarHour9831, said, I know this is a little off topic from this Reddit community, but I just wanted to say, keep it up, Brad, with the fire music. I've been loving all the new music and decided to learn the part to this song. Took me a minute to learn by ear. You got a great blessing, and I can't wait for new music. Who knows, this year you might be playing at the Titans Super Bowl halftime. If they get to the Super Bowl, they can let whoever play halftime. I'll be just fine. But I appreciate it very much. And this is FarHour9831 playing Kingdom of Me. Hey, got the Titans necklace, the jersey. Yeah. Come on now. I love it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Woo. Yeah, learned it by ear. Yeah. Woo! Yeah. Shredding. I appreciate that, man. That's great. Great. Show your love to him in the comments. And that song, as well as some other songs by me, are on any streaming platform. Brad Steele. Some of them play at the end of my videos, and Kingdom of Me is my top song on there, so you can go check that out. Appreciate it, Titans fans, and I hope the Titans get the win over the Colts this Sunday. I hate them Colts, man. Come on. We got to beat them. God bless you guys. Tighten up. Bye.